Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Witchy Business. New ritual that we're trying to implement is to start every episode with an energy check-in to feel really into where we're at, what we're feeling, what's moving through us in the moment. And wherever you are at, I'd really love to encourage you to join us. And you can keep your eyes open and just be really aware of what's around you, especially if you're driving. Just keep that awareness. And if you're walking, just really seeing what's around you. If you're sitting down or if you're at home and you would prefer to be in a comfortable position and closing your eyes, you can also do that. And using your breath is a nice way to be guided back into yourself and to feel into where the energy flows, maybe where it doesn't flow so fluidly. And it's like peeking behind a curtain, I find, just accepting and welcoming all the loud thoughts and the strong physical sensations, welcoming the emotions that you're used to being with, and then peeking behind the curtain. What's behind all of the loud noise, the strong sensations, and the usual emotion? What's there? What's there specifically today? What's there specifically in this moment? What are you feeling on a physical level? What are the quiet thoughts? And what's moving inside you? What are the energies, the emotions that you're either ignoring or repressing, resisting? What's also there? It's taking that moment with yourself to notice it all without attaching any meaning to it. So if you're feeling sad, it's in no way less good than if you're feeling happy and excited. If you're feeling tension in your body, it is in no way less good than if you're feeling great and energized. Really being present with what is there. And you can stay present with that as you open your eyes, as you connect back with what's around you, and as you navigate your day, your evening, or this moment, can keep that presence with you at all times. Yeah.
Thank
Feels
you.
really nice. Thank you. So what are you feeling? Would you like to share?
Yeah. I'm feeling some fear. And yeah, it's like it's a couple of things. I've been recently, just over the last few days, feeling like this need to do all the things, and that feels like it's coming from a place of fear. It's like that's my default. It's like, instead of feeling the fear, my default is to just go and do all of the things, because then I don't have to feel the fear. Or that's like my way of, like, how do I put this? It's like in my body, I think I've been feeling like I just had this idea come to me the other day, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. But then the fear comes in, and I'm working on a few other projects at the moment, and it feels so big. It feels, and it's like this, I guess it's this level up. It's like where do I want to be? And then with that comes a lot of fear. And then my default, my survival mechanism, my ego is like, okay, well, let's just like ignore that and like do all the things. And so this hustle, it's like this hustle energy. And I'm really trying to just slow down to counteract that feeling of needing to do all of the things. But yeah, just a lot of fear. And yeah,
There's just one thing that when you say I want the things to do to counteract that fear,
mm-hmm.
you're still in relationship with the fear when you could just be with it.
But that's why I'm trying to do all the things, so I'm not being with it, because it's like, I don't want to be with the fear. But I know, and I like consciously, I know that, and consciously, like, I have my tools and my practices to, but it's, if you can't see me, I'm doing like a finger quotation. Not that I'm doing that about my tools, because my tools really help me and my practices really help me. But I can feel like in that moment when I'm really being honest with myself, when you guide through that energy check-in, I'm like, I know the fear's there, and I just need to be with it, and I'm not being with it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I don't want this to turn into like a live coaching session, because it's not what we do between us, but not what we do on the pod either. So I'm just gonna say thank you for sharing that, because I think it's a big / good thing, but being conscious as well, not to make anything like good or bad. But by expressing it, you really make it conscious to yourself that you are avoiding it.
Yeah.
When you are, in fact, very capable and able of being with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost like even just admitting, even just admitting that you have the fear, especially as business owners, especially as anyone who is in work and they have a team, or they have people around them, or if you have your own business, it's that really, admitting that you have the fear is like, there's a lot of shame attached to that, right? There's a lot of like, kind of feelings that are quite taboo, that you shouldn't quote unquote be feeling. So it's even just saying that makes me feel like I'm like moving loads right now.
But in doing that, you're making the fear more present, like you're allowing it to actually be there. So yeah thank you for sharing that with us.
What are you feeling?
Quite. I've been like I check in with myself quite regularly. Like it's a multiple times a day kind of practice for me. And I was away for the past like 4 days for my cousin's hen do, very different to my normal everyday energy. I was about to say lots of alcohol involved. In 4 days, I had 2 cocktails and 2 beers. So let's just put things into
But that's like a lot for us. What?
Wild. But yeah, it is a lot for me. And more so like the fact, like being around a lot of people, like waking up in the same house, like
Yeah.
sharing a bedroom, like all of that for me is a lot to be around other people's energy. And I kept checking with myself over those 4 days, expecting there to be, is that even, why am I struggling with some simple sentences today? I was expecting anxiety or fear to be there, or that familiar feeling of I shouldn't be enjoying myself for this many days without being on social media, as in like showing up or being present with my business. Like I was expecting that to be there. And I was surprised that it wasn't. And when I was checking in over those 4 days, it was, I'm just really, really happy to be here. I'm with my cousins. You know, there's a lot of us. We're all scattered around like the country and the world, and being together is quite rare. And yeah, and today I woke up expecting to feel that fear of, oh, I need to get in, do some work, la la. And I don't. And it's surprising. And I'm sharing this because I think sometimes we're so expecting to feel something that we act as if we were.
Yeah.
But then when you really check in, it's not actually there. And so, yeah, sharing this because sometimes we avoid these check-in practices because we're expecting that what we're going to tune into is going to be uncomfortable. And I always tell my clients, and it's something that I tell myself a lot, is like, be curious about what's there because you might be really pleasantly surprised or just surprised. And so that's, and I'm, you know, I'm kind of like, I'm so expecting the fear and that like, yeah, I should be working to be there, that I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, it's just not there right now. You can work, you can do the things, but allow yourself to not come from that place of fear. And it's quite a new feeling for me. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm feeling. I feel well, that didn't answer the how I'm feeling. I shared like how I'm not feeling. But what I am feeling is grounded. And yeah, and calm.
I love that. It's like practicing being non-judgmental and being, yeah, I love that you say it's like being surprised. You might be surprised because I in a few weeks' time, I have a busy 2 weeks where I'm going to visit a friend in Portugal for the week, and then I come back, I'm in London, I've got a thing that I need to be like energized for, and then the weekend I'm going away with some other friends, and then the month, like, you know, it's just like lots of plans with lots of people, and in my head I'm like, I'm just going to be so tired that day. When I get back, I'm going to just have to, you know, take the day. And it's like, no, I've not even arrived. I've not even, you know, there's so many things, like it's not even like it's going to be a hectic week away, you know, but it's like this idea that because I'm going to be with lots of different people in lots of different energies, but I might not be. And so it's like by thinking that, I then create that reality for myself, essentially.
Yeah. And I fully understand where that comes from, because we repress so many big quote unquote negative emotions. I'm really trying to develop my vocabulary so I don't use that, but I think that's how we know them. So it's like, how do you get that point across without using those words? It's just a little
I don't know
that it's just
that's why I said taboo earlier, because I thought maybe that's better than negative, but how do you describe? I
don't know. So yeah, please pipe in, anyone who's listening, and come and talk to us about this. Like, and if you have like, this is the person listening, have really like thought about this, I mean, let us know, because we'll invite you on just to chat about like redeveloping vocabulary to assign to certain things without making them good or bad. Little segue topic back in. So yeah, I think we are so conditioned to suppress what's uncomfortable that at the start of our, like, again, another word, our journey in, like, to connect with ourselves and to tune in, what we're tuning into is then everything we've suppressed. So it's uncomfortable. So it's like, just, but you get to this point where you've done enough of this and it's part of your life enough that sometimes what you're tuning in is actually really cool. And it's just, I'm being mindful to not so expect something uncomfortable that, like you said, you then make that your reality. And it's just like, no, sometimes it can really be easy, grounding, smooth, calm, happy. Like, that also all exists. And
and you're allowed to feel you're allowed to feel that. You're allowed to feel them.
And when you say you're allowed to feel them, like when you were sharing that what you're feeling is fear, part of me was feeling like I shouldn't share that I'm feeling calm. And you almost feel like, oh, I'm gonna jinx myself. Like, that was also present. Like the emotional state was calm and grounded. The thought and the meaning that I put on top of that is, don't say that, because you're going to jinx yourself and tomorrow morning you're going to wake up feeling anxious. What? No. And that shows like that it's not just what we're feeling, it's the meaning we attach to what we're feeling, because you can feel something big quote unquote good or comfortable or easy and attach a quote unquote negative thought to it. And it's so layered.
I don't know if you said this or someone said this to me, or I read it or something. I don't know where I discovered this, so bear with me. But I read this thing or heard this thing that was about fear. You're not, you don't, I can't, I'm going to butcher this, so I'm just going to say it and hope that it makes sense. You're not scared of the fear. You're not avoiding the fear. You're avoiding the feeling of what you associate with fear. So it's like, the feeling is not fear. It's what you associate with fear and what that means to you. And that has just stuck with me. And I just love that.
Yeah. It's like what you're avoiding is the meaning you attach to.
Like, what does fear mean to you? And like, so when I say I'm feeling that fear, it's like, well, what does that mean? What do I think is going to happen? What do I,
and then what do you make it mean about you?
And then that brings up all of these other things. But then also on the flip side, you hearing me say that, and then your story of like, oh, is it okay if I say I'm calm and grounded. But that's you, what you then associate fear means for you.
Yeah. Which actually makes me think of this like topic that's been coming into my field. And maybe we could do a whole pod on this, but I read that teenagers today have anxiety because they feel like they're failing at well-being. And I was like, it is not just teenagers, but it's rising with teenagers. But so much of like the well-being space and the marketing around it is around feeling good.
Yeah.
And there are so many tools and practices marketed towards making you feel good that when we don't feel something that we've categorized as good, we feel like we're failing at feeling good. And it just, like, that sentence was really simple, and I was like, it is so layered and such an important topic to talk about, because I personally really struggling with words. That resonates with me. You know, and I've heard people, like, if I share I'm feeling really anxious today, they'll be like, but you know, I used to hear, but you're a yoga teacher. And I'm like, I'm still human. I'm not enlightened because I know how to guide you through a sun salutation, A and B, you know, like, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'm feeling anxious. And it's like, oh, but you know which black flower remedies to use for this, and you know which pranayama and breath work to do, and with all the mindfulness work you've done, surely you shouldn't be feeling this anymore. I'm just like, really? That's a load of bullshit.
Yeah, God, that's so interesting. That's like a perception. I guess I hadn't consciously thought about that, but now that I do, I think also that does bring up a lot of, I mean, that expands into things like imposter syndrome. Like, you know, for us, for example, in this space, like if you're having anxiety and you're a yoga teacher and people think that you're supposed to have your shit together, but it's not even about that, but that's like the perception, right? But then that brings up, like, potentially, you know, I'm not specifically talking about you, but I'm just generalizing here. Then that could lead to like imposter syndrome and then fear, because you're like, well, if that's how people see me, like, you know, it brings up like, it's
absolutely. And a few weeks back in the podcast, I shared, like, I was having like 2 weeks of feeling a lot of anxiety, and then I had those maturation sessions. And in my supervision session, that's what I brought up with my coach. I was like, I've been feeling really anxious, and I'm feeling like I shouldn't coach from this place. And she was like, what? She literally just called me out on my shit, basically. She was like, you were feeling something, you are not that thing. And it's such a basic thing, but in that frazzled state, you don't see clearly. And she was like, so what are you telling yourself? Like, what are you making your anxiety mean about you? And I was making it mean that I couldn't hold space for people because I wasn't feeling perfect. And that's when she called me out. She was like, in this case, you've done enough work that you know better. I was like, I feel so. And she was like, yeah, but that's when you're in a state of fear. And when you're coaching, you're just really present. And she was like, is it there when you're coaching? And I was like, no, it's not. And so, but it's there before I coach, because I'm making it mean that because I felt like that yesterday, I can't do this today. You know, it's just, and so, yeah, there's just like that extra layer of what we make it mean about ourselves. Like, because if you're feeling fear and you're making that mean that you're failing in some way, then you no longer have to just be with the fear. You have to be with the fear and the feeling of failure. But that feeling of failure, in a way, like if you really check in, it's not what you felt, so it's not really there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, as an analogy, I guess it's like a yoga teacher teaching a yoga class and not being able to do the splits, or I don't know, whatever, like a yoga pose. Yeah, but it's like, doesn't mean that you're any less of a good teacher. Like,
Right.
that's just how your body works. Like, some people have, you
Yeah.
know, different flexibility, and I guess it's the same for whatever your profession is. Like, just because you're feeling anxiety doesn't mean that you're a good coach. Just because you're feeling the fear doesn't mean that you're not good at presenting or,
Right.
you
And it
know,
probably
public
makes you
speaking.
actually better.
Yeah.
Again, putting like a good or bad thing, but
Mm.
if you're really present with what you're feeling, you're more present in this moment. And I think that's where the magic happens, is in the presence.
Yeah. The key to fulfillment, the key to, yeah, experiencing life. And
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Being more in life. And there's nothing more magic than being fully there to experience all that life has to offer. And that's something that this weekend I kept seeing. Like, we were, you know, going through different kind of sceneries and nature, and I absolutely love nature. Like, the girls kept making fun of me because I was like picking the flowers and kept being like, oh, it's so green, it's so pretty. But genuinely, like, nature's just absolutely magical.
yeah.
It really is. And
Yeah.
we are nature. We're not just part of it, we are it. And we have that potential of magic too, not just in what we create, but how we perceive life. And in order to perceive all the bits of magic in life, you've got to be fully in it and experience all of it, the full range of everything that you can experience in life, which is emotions for us. And I find that like so encouraging, you know, in those moments where what you're feeling is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, this is why I'm doing that, because then I'm fully being there and I'm
Yeah.
growing my capacity to fully be in life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the saying, like, feel it to heal it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, I think, just to bring an element of like practice into this, we always, whenever we're talking about things like this on the podcast, we always want you, as in you, the listener, to go gently, to have compassion for yourself. You know, we would never want anyone to like not feel safe in having the space and having the time to feel it. And so, you know, there are times where it isn't safe to feel it, and only you will know that. As in safe, I mean like your environment. Like, you know, there are situations like you know, what am I trying to say? It's like, I want everyone to feel like this is a practice for everyone, but also like go gently, because there's a reason why most of us avoid it, right?
Yeah, but it's because we attach meaning to what we're feeling. And in the go gently, it's like, make sure you're supporting yourself as you consciously feel. But also, it doesn't need to be such a big thing. Like, if we attach less meaning to what we're feeling, and I say this like knowing how uncomfortable it can be sometimes, and how much can literally feel like you're dying, you know, like when my anxiety was peaking a few weeks back, like that's what I felt like. I was about to not be in life anymore. support yourself through that. And you can do it for yourself, and that's extra healing, because doing it for you is just really, really loving. But ask for help, ask for support. That's what coaches are for, that's what therapists are for, that's what professionals in the field are for. But making sure you're being supported in the feeling, and that you've got that kind of space where someone can call you out, or at least show you what meaning you're attaching to what you're feeling, so you can then know what you're working with. Because that's the first layer, is that meaning that you're attaching to what you're feeling. You work with that, and then you're with what you're feeling.
Yeah, thank you for articulating that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else is going on? What else is coming up?
How excited, like, being able to talk about this. I think you can hear it, like, it, I mean, emotions is a topic that I'm really passionate about, and I'm creating a course on it. And right now in this conversation, it's making me feel like it's the right thing to do, because it's something that I love so much and that I find so powerful.
Yeah. And I think, like, you know, like when I was saying, like, go gently, have compassion, like that is from my personal experience. Like, when you talk about this stuff, you explain it in such a beautiful way. Like, this is like what you do. This is why you're creating a course on it. And I guess for me, as someone who has spent like a good amount of time trying to avoid feeling these feelings, you know, feeling the uncomfortable feelings, I appreciate so much having a coach for support, having someone else there. So I'm really glad that you said that. And I know that this course that you're creating is going to be so helpful and so beneficial for so many people, because it is, you know, like, having that support really is so valuable. And we can like do a whole episode on this, but yeah, I love that we can talk about it too. And this is the stuff that is, for me, is like gonna change the world. You know, people feeling their feelings, people having self-awareness, people, you know, that's why we want to,
people expressing themselves.
Yes. Yeah,
because that's what you do.
yeah. Feeling and expressing, that's what we're all about. Yeah.
There's one to help you feel and one to help you express. There you go.
Yeah.
That's why you come to us. Really simple.
Yeah, but you know, it's kind of like you can't have one without the other. I feel like, you know, being able to feel, being able to know yourself, being able to feel your emotions and then express them, like that's where the power, like you actually just said it, like I named the fear, and now it's like kind of taking the power away. And it's the same, it's like when you express something, you want to be expressing that from like your true core.
Yeah. And your true core might be in that moment feeling the fear.
Yeah.
But you're not expressing it from the judgment that you're attaching to the fact that you're feeling the fear. That's the difference.
Yeah.
It's not like, because I've done that a lot, is waiting to feel quote unquote something good. And until I'm in that space, then I can't create, because I need to come from this place. And what I've come to realize is, no, come from the sadness, come from the anger, show that. Because that's what people resonate with, because they have that in them too.
Yeah.
don't come from the resistance and the telling yourself that you shouldn't feel the sadness. That's the inauthentic part. That's where the resistance is. But you can be fully yourself and fully authentic in sharing from that place of heartbreak, for example, and sadness, like the deep sadness. Because if you're coming, like, visually, if you're seeing it, you're sad, like your heart's breaking, it's open. It is so open. And what you share from that place is so vulnerable. It's so, like, I'm not talking about dumping your feelings on someone. It's like doing your work and coming from that, this is how my heart is feeling at the moment, or coming from that place of anger. Like, let it energize you. Anger is such an like alive energy. Really cool things have come from a place of being pissed off.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can't remember what I was listening to, reading to, or whatever, but someone was like, I was so pissed off that someone told me that my program wasn't good enough, that I made it the best fucking program in the country. But what they share in that program is all like about love and mindfulness, and it's beautiful stuff. But what like gave it the push to start with was the anger. And it's not the anger that like drove the whole thing and then is infused, you know, like, it's not that I'll show you, but that's what gave it like the little kick. Like, come from where you're coming from what you're feeling, but realize that it's what you're feeling and not who you are. And be mindful of what you're making it mean about you that you're feeling that. That's where there's like the inauthenticity. There's something not quite right.
Yeah.
But share your full self, because we talk about like sharing, you know, like our full authentic self while still not showing a certain part of ourselves of what we're feeling. Like, no.
Yeah.
And I say this knowing how much we have been conditioned to not do it. So how difficult it is. And actually, like, again, it's one of those words that I try to be mindful of, like, difficult. We make it difficult. It's uncomfortable. It's unknown territory. And you've got to be really present to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And just because I know this from like a mental thing doesn't mean that it's always what I do, but it's an intention in what I do. And it's something that I'm working towards always. And that's it.
Yeah. I think the unknown there though is like so important. It's like, not only is it unknown, the feeling, but also it's like, I think you can think that you're being your authentic self. I think there's so many layers, you know, but you don't actually really realize that there are things that are blocking you, or that are causing reactions, or triggering you in some way. And it's really only until you explore those and really learn to discover yourself and ask yourself these questions and continuously practice that you know, it is a journey. Like, and it's like that word again, but
in that, it's a lifelong journey, and you'll never get there. There is not a healed destination that exists. And my coach always says there is not another side of the bridge. Like, there is, it's just not there. And that's actually encouraging, in the sense of do the work with like a coach, have someone who shows you what you're not seeing, you know, learn different tools, practices and stuff, but keep creating from where you're at that moment, because in that given moment, that's your authentic self. So don't like let that stop you from being who you are, creating what you want to create, showing up in the world as your full authentic self at that moment of how much you are actually able to show up. Yeah. Because if you're waiting to be your full authentic self before you create anything, you're never gonna get there. But it's never,
yeah,
because if you see it as like your full authentic self is like the core of you and all the layers peel off, to me, how I see that, that's when you just become the ether again, and
yeah,
there's not this like meat sack.
yeah,
I don't want to wait necessarily to become just energy,
yeah,
because I'm here for a reason, like in the meat sack. So, and it evolves, and I think that's something I've been telling myself, because I've got such a hang up on like being in full integrity and making sure that like the place that you come from is so clean. Yeah, but I'm also human,
mm-hmm.
and the integrity that I bring shouldn't stop me from creating and showing up, and it shouldn't
Yeah,
stop anyone. So be in integrity, check yourself, know when you're imposing. But
yeah. I see two sides though. It's like what you're saying about the fear. It's like some people let that fuel them, other people let that go into, you know, oh well, I won't do it then. And it's the same like when you just said there's no end, there isn't another side of the bridge. Like for me, I feel like that is really encouraging, because I love learning, and I think learning is purpose. Like if you're connected to learning and growth, that's really fulfilling. But other people will hear that and think, oh, what's the point then?
yeah, well, the point is that you keep evolving as life happens, and you keep being even more and more fully in life as you journey through life. Yeah.
So much to say on this topic, and I would love to
Yeah, I
do
feel
a
like
whole other episode,
part two.
just yeah, like talking about emotions. I want to hear all about your course that you're creating, and yeah, let's do that. Let's do it. Let's just pause, do another episode.
So much more on this. Yeah, thank you so much for listening, and yeah, we would love to hear what this brings up in you when you listen. And again, if you have thought about this whole like vocabulary about good and bad, and want to come chat with us about it, yeah, whoever you are, no matter your platform, we don't care. We just want to have an interesting chat. So let us know.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.